there are different kinds of decodable books. So the kinds of books that Jean Chall said were appropriate were phonetically regular. Okay, they had certain words, words that fell in certain phonics patterns at particular levels. But the words were repeated frequently in the books in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. When Texas first made the mandate for decodability, it was based on a different model. So most of the decodable books we have now are based on the notion that kids need to see lots of exemplars of a particular pattern. So in fact, if you've got lots of words like zip and sip, I meant sip, right? I hope I said that. Sip and sip and tip and lip, all in the same text, you may be developing some proficiency with applying knowledge of patterns, but research by folks like Heidi Mesmer indicate that you actually aren't helping kids get facile with the words that are maybe most frequent in that family. If you're showing rip and tip and sip and zip, it turns out that every time the kid approaches a new word, they have to figure it out. So their fluency, if they don't see those words repeated a lot, and in most of these books, the words appear only a single time, the instance of a word, not the pattern, but the instance. So you might also see flip and dip and blip. So the research indicates that's one thing, that if you see a lot of exemplars, you may be developing some phonics knowledge, but what you aren't developing is fluency as a reader, right? Because you're being confronted with all these different words. The other thing is, and this is especially true for English language learners, especially those who are Spanish speakers, these little words like sip and lip and flip and drip are actually fairly unusual words. So some of these words are fairly rare, and some of them, like tam, you know, the hat, tam, are archaic. And so the thing about decoding is, if I don't already know what it is that I've decoded, you know, if I don't know the system out there, if I don't know the words, I won't know if I decoded it appropriately. So there's also the issue if the word is not something in your meaning vocabulary. And these are words that you don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time on a vocabulary lesson, right? What I would prefer, and what the beginning reads in programs like Ready Readers that I've worked on, or ZipZoom, what I've done is ensured that particular exemplars of a phonics pattern are repeated a great deal. So when you look at Connie Jewell's work, which is often cited for the decodable model, in fact, in Connie's study, it was the series with Pug, the little dog, and the number of different words with the UG or even with U were very few, and a few key exemplars were repeated a lot. That's the kind of book that I think really works. And in the studies that I've done, those are the kinds of texts that we've used. There's a big range in decodables, and there are some real problems, I think, in terms of learning theory in the current models of, you know, Zip is going to tip. Watch him sip. You get the idea that having lots and lots of exemplars can be something that really challenges the kids who most need good instruction to become readers. I'm not at all saying that you don't need phonetic regularity. I'm just saying it's the interpretation of it that I have some issues with.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And then some of the best.
I also should say that there are, you know, there are tons of really good phonetically regular words within the core vocabulary. So when we wrote a program like ZipZoom, we actually chose the exemplars of the words that had the most frequency. So, you know, like man for the AN family. So we would bring in other words like plan. or fan, but we wouldn't bring in so many at a time, and we keep repeating certain kinds of exemplars. That's the point. Okay.
Yeah.